Sat Sri Akal ji, welcome to That Punjabi Couple. My name is Manpreet Singh,
My name is Tania Kaur.
and today we're going to talk about something that causes a lot of confusion and is everywhere you see. Um, we're going to talk about the differences, the similarities, but mainly the differences of Sikh culture versus Punjabi culture. And I feel like a lot of people uh, say kind of it's the same thing in a lot of places, and they confuse Punjabi
Mm-hmm.
culture with Sikh culture when it's totally different.
Mm-hmm.
And and Punjabi culture is everything. I mean, it's a lot of people. It's not just Sikhs.
Yeah.
It's Muslims, it's Hindus, it's Christians, it's probably other religions. So you could be from that region or be part of that culture, and you don't have to be Sikh.
Mm-hmm.
But today we're going to talk about, since we are Sikh, me and you, we're going to talk about the differences between Sikh culture and Punjabi culture. And I don't know if it's going to shock people or there's some hot takes, but it's going to be my and yours understanding of what Sikhi is.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone has any comments or disagreements, definitely let us know. But yeah, let's get into it. And one of the main things, I think that we want to touch on something that's in Punjabi culture. It's probably in other cultures too, but something that I do not like, and we all grew up with. So if you have immigrant parents and you live in, abroad, or definitely if you live in India, but even if you live abroad, it's they always say "Loki kenge." So they're always worried about other people's opinions.
Mm-hmm.
They're always worried about if we do something, what will people part of our culture, part of our tribe say?
Part of the community.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
community, what is it going to say? And that, I think that's such a limiting belief, first of all. But that is a big thing in Punjabi culture.
Mm-hmm.
And in Sikh culture, if you actually read the history and you actually see what the gurus did, and you actually read uh, Bani, it's all about not caring what people say.
Yeah.
It's not about the
Conforming.
community and being formal and being all those things and being liked, going with the popular opinion, not to ruffle any feathers. As much as I've understood Sikhi, it's always about no, you got to be non-conformist. Don't care about the popular opinion, but
Mm-hmm.
you got to do what's right, do
Yeah.
what's ethical, do what's morally correct,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that will and that should fuel on what you're going to do and what you're going to say and how to talk to people and all those things. But that is going to be your sangat, not
Yeah.
the popular opinion. And so I think a lot of people like get blend that in. Like I know so many people that know way more Gurbani than me, but they're
Mm-hmm.
always worried about what other people will think.
Mm-hmm.
So it always just boggles my mind. It's just because I'm like, are you guys? You guys know it more. You guys pray more than me, but are we actually understanding it and living that in our life?
Yeah.
And so culture takes over. And there's a popular saying in corporate America too, actually, saying culture eats strategy for breakfast any day of the week. So culture takes over.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't matter value
Yeah.
system and all those things. Culture always takes over. So yeah, what do you think?
Yeah. No, culture definitely permeates everything, whether you like it or not. But when it comes to my understanding, like Sikh culture, Punjabi culture, there's a huge difference. Sikhs are meant to be nonconformists, and but it takes a certain level of inner strength, knowing yourself, and not being afraid to stand out. Which ideally, that's what a Sikh is. You're not afraid to stand out, no matter what's going on around you. But you know, people spend all their lives reading Gurbani and going to Gurdwara and Path Karya and everything, but still that inner strength sometimes may not be there to do the right thing at the right time and stand up. I think that's at the end of the day, like, can you do that? So to me, it's Punjabi culture permeating more because more often than not, we go with what the community says. We don't want to, like you said, ruffle any feathers. Just take the example of the Gurdwaras. You know, it's hard to change. even though it might be the right thing to do when you talk about Gurdwaras, what's the practices happening there? What's going on in the Gurdwaras now? And it's more probably because of culture. It's more male dominated. So it's harder maybe to make change. It's more elderly males who are there and making the decisions and calling the shots, whether or not there are people who are maybe speaking their mind and, um, you know, telling them that maybe we should try different things. This is not really aligning with Sikh culture, Sikhi, but I think that's a classic example. As a part of institution, which you should be as a gyani or someone who is part of the Gurdwara, are you going along with what you think Loki Gange and what you think people should be doing, or what's serving, the community of the Gurdwara or the board, or are you going along with what you think you should be doing as educated Sikh person who should be standing out, who should be talking about, the current events going on now, who should be, um, keeping the community fit, having like a gym or a basketball center or a medical center part of the Gurdwara. Um, you know, so things like that, I think, definitely shows you that yes, culture takes over. Um, but that's a big difference. Sikhs are meant to stand out. We should be fearless, no matter what's going on. But it's easier said than done.
Yeah, I mean, we got two girls, and they're young. And what does every parent want to tell their kids? They want to tell, like, don't worry about what others say, do your thing, do the right. That's how you grow up.
Yeah.
But when they grow up, and when you start, when they start doing like things that are out of the norm, you're like, hold on, slow down, hold on. This is not what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
You're supposed to do X, Y, Z to do to get to wherever you want to
Yeah.
go. And so we stop that. And that's what Sikhi should teach. Like that's what it does teach. But no, but the cultural norms get people. Like I would
Yeah.
never. I want my kids to be fearless. I want them to do non-conformist things. I want them to do things and have jobs and careers that not every single person is doing. Like do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Like it's great.
So how do we do that? Like it starts at the home.
Well,
right? So let's not even talk about outside.
Yeah. So I mean, you instill the Sikh values and actually tell them the stories of Sikhs that did these things and were non-conformist.
Yeah.
To teach them what Gurbani is really saying. How do you get encouragement from Bani to do what you want to do, right? So fearless is one of a main tenet.
Yeah.
It's in the Mool Mantar. And so are we instilling that? No, because most Sikhs who are Punjabi are concerned about what other people will think.
Yeah.
And so that's my thing. Are we going to teach? I mean, this is a bigger conversation, but are we going to teach the Sikh values and Sikh stories that make our kids be one of a kind and unique and great leaders in life, or great artists in life, or whatever they want to be?
Yeah.
Or are we going to teach them what 99% of the world is teaching them, and they're going to be the same as them?
Yeah. No,
so it
that's
starts
true.
from the house.
That's true. I think with our kids, on a day-to-day life, I'm trying to think about that. Like, how do we instill those values, being fearless? We're always like, don't go over there. Don't touch this. Don't fall down. Don't get hurt. So I think it starts there. Definitely, we have to be teaching them about, important Sikh figures in history. But even before that, at least for us, our kids are 3 and 5. How can they understand being brave and being fearless? We tell them, be brave. Don't worry about what other people think. Do what you think is right. But then at the same time, at least in my opinion, I feel like we say, don't get hurt. Don't fall down. Don't do this. We want to keep them safe, but we do also kind of put fear in them, whereas they should be fearless, jumping.
Right.
They should be fearless, I don't know, going up on the sofa and jumping from one chair to another. But we would say, don't do that. You're going to get hurt. So,
well, I know a lot of kids that are not fearless and crazy. So that could go either way.
Yeah. But
that go either way.
I think that kind of confuses kids.
You got to be carefree, not careless.
Yeah.
And this, when kids are young, they're careless. And so
Right.
that's why parents say all those things, in my
Yeah.
opinion. But when they're teenagers, they should be carefree and not think, but not careless. So
Yeah.
there's a difference
Yeah.
there.
When they're
It's
younger,
not all about like, oh, don't do that, you're going to fall and get hurt, because you might actually fall and get hurt. You're 3 years old.
right. But I also try to say, if you fall, you're going to be fine.
Mm.
It's going to be okay. Like the goal is
Right.
not to fall,
Right.
but if you do, it's going to be okay. So I think at least I try not to scare them, and I want them to be fearless in that way. How can they understand that now? But yeah, definitely they need to know Sikh history. We need to know that. I think
Right.
that's another thing that in Punjabi culture and Sikh culture, we do a lot more Punjabi cultural things, but not so much like things aligning with Sikhi as much, unless you know your history and you bring that into day-to-day life as the grown-ups. So I need to do more of that. But
Right.
yeah.
Like another thing too, now that we're talking about this, because we were at your family's dinner and your mommy G listened to the podcast, and she loved it, but she's like, I have a complaint, you did a lot of auntie bashing. And I was like, in one of them or something, I'm like, well, it's the aunties that I see.
Yeah.
And she's like, what about the men? I'm like, don't worry, I have this podcast coming up and I'm going to bash the men. And so don't worry, it's coming.
We equally bash.
Yeah, because Punjabi culture is very male dominated, and then you see that in the Gurdwaras, and you see that in Punjabi households as well, where it's just very male dominated, and so, which is totally wrong.
Yeah.
Right. So it shouldn't be male dominated. And that's what the Gurdwara should teach you. So it's like there are men that go to Gurdwara and wash dishes, but they come to their house and they don't wash anything. They will clean the Gurdwara, vacuum the Gurdwara, clean all that stuff, but they come home and they don't clean anything. Right. So that's the whole point of the Sikh culture.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what seva you do in the Gurdwara, we are all equal. But for some reason, when you come to your house, the seva is not equal anymore. The seva is, oh no, the wife's going to do the dishes, the wife's going to clean, the wife's going to do that. I don't know any husbands that clean bathrooms. I don't know. I don't clean bathrooms.
I don't know either.
So yeah. No. But that's what it's supposed to teach you and institutionalize.
Right.
That's what the Gurdwara teaches you. So you come home, it's like a training ground at least for that. And so, yeah, I don't see men doing that. I told her, I'm like, when's the last time you saw a woman do her das at a Gurdwara? I haven't seen one.
That's a good point.
I'm talking about the Punjabi culture of Gurdwaras. I'm sure it happens in the white Gurdwaras. I'm sure. And women kind of have like a more prominent role there.
That's an interesting juxtaposition, because the Gore Sikh, their Gurdwaras and their institutions, roles are a little bit kind of opposite.
Yeah.
Right. You see that. And I think that's where it's nice to see that, actually.
It is.
Whereas in our Gurdwaras, like let's say Richmond Hill or
anyone,
local
any
Gurdwaras
Gurdwara
here,
in
anywhere,
America.
right, anywhere. How many women have stood up and said they want to do ardas? I don't know. And maybe they have said it. We just don't know about it. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't think there are many women that insist that we should do the ardas.
Well, that's the thing. There's like the Punjabi cultural virus in people's heads that they're like, nahi, eta sirf, Gani ji karenge ya mardi karenge or something like that.
And also, I think it's not wanting to challenge the status quo. So,
which is exactly the opposite of Sikh culture.
Right.
You're challenging the status quo.
Yeah, in Punjabi culture, we don't want to. I think this is also maybe because Punjabis do have big hearts. They are loving. We don't want to offend people. We don't like to, create conflict. Punjabis are known for just wanting to have fun and, eating and drinking, and we're loud in other ways maybe, and kush del hagia, but at the same time we have lost that desire to challenge the status quo as if you are Punjabi Sikh.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's probably another reason why a lot of women don't maybe stand up
No, it
because
might
they
be
don't
the
want to challenge the status quo. And but again, doesn't mean it's right. Um, but how can we, how can I, as a mom now of two girls, I have to think about this too. How am I going to bring this into my day to day life? What challenges, what status quo things am I going to be challenging?
yeah. Are
You
you
know,
challenging any?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
But I'm not
No.
blaming the women here because I feel like the men have just so integrated this in society about them just doing everything that's they want to lead the Sikh way, but they're not letting women lead the Sikh way either. So men have
Yeah.
totally ruined this for women. They grow up like that. They see their dads doing it, their uncles doing it, whatever. So they're like, oh,
Yeah.
this is just how it is. So I don't want to. I'm not really gonna blame the women here, but I do believe they need to like stand up and be courageous and do those things. But it's this is all the men's fault because
Right.
nobody is telling the guy to go and do pandandi seva and then not do it at your house.
Hmm.
So like you could do it at your house, you could clean your house, you could do other things. So no one is telling you to do that.
Yeah.
It's like the men's own initiative, right? And also leading a das. I mean, have you seen Sikh Panjpyare like that are women?
Mm-mm.
No, right? All the Panjpyare are male. And
Right.
now there's like controversy over this or something like that. But why can't it be a woman to be part of the Panjpyare during
There should be
Vaisakhi?
no reason that it can't
There
be a
should be no
woman.
reason. The Maryada says it's okay, but the culture says it's not,
Hmm.
right? And that's the problem. And that's like the whole thing I get into. I mean, these are long conversations where that's why I don't go to Gurdwara and I do those
Yeah.
things because I just see all this male domination. But these are the values. Like I really believe like when I see Sikh men do actual equal things and their no Gurbani and their
Hmm.
history, then I'm like, okay, this person's actually understanding what it's saying.
Yeah.
But when I see Sikh men just, Path
Hmm.
Jada Kar Diya and they're just leading all these Sikh initiatives, but they
Yeah.
don't do any of it really internally.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay, this is all just, a
Yeah.
show.
I think at the end of the day, the people who have the power will want to keep it, whether you do it unconsciously or consciously. You जिद्दां चली जांदा है, and if things are good, no one's really saying anything. It's gonna keep going that way. So I agree with you about men, and for a long time it's been this way. But I think at some point, if enough women say that no, we want to be able to be a part of this, we want an opportunity to do this, साडा भी हक होना चाहिए, or we should be able to be a part of it. There's, I don't see a reason why people wouldn't listen. But so I don't know. I think it's a little bit of both. That when you want to do something, you will do it, whether you're a man or a woman,
Right.
right? ਜਦੋਂ ਅੰਦਰੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਖਿੱਚ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, or you have that urge that you want to make a change and you want to do something, you will find a way to do it. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm just kind of saying, to me, in my perception, I don't challenge status quo, you know, but I do feel like if I feel passionate about something, and now that I have my own daughters and I want to set an example for them, I feel like I probably would stand up, and or at least talk about it with other women in the community, in the institution, and maybe try to create a group or people who think like I do, you know. Um, but
Yeah.
but you have to, again, I think it comes back to, on the inside, what strength is there. It takes a certain level of strength and knowledge um, and desire to want to make a change.
Right. Right. It does. But if you read more Gurbani and you read about Sikh history,
Mm,
then you start understanding. Like we talk about in our das, we talk about the people that were non-conformists, right? Those are the people we remember. We don't remember people
mhm.
that went with the whole crowd.
Right.
So that's the point. Like you're supposed to this if Sikh culture is supposed to be giving you uh, tools of and Sikh culture is supposed to be giving you like ideas and encouragement and motivation
Hmm.
of not conforming, of being unique, being a leader yourself. Like that's what it's supposed to give you, not following the norms of Punjabi culture, but actually questioning things.
Yeah.
Questioning things. That's what the gurus did. They didn't follow the norms of that culture at the time. They questioned things.
Mm-hmm.
But we lost that questioning. We're just following the norms of Punjabi cultural things because we either don't care or it's just no, we might not that be into Sikhi anymore, or
Right.
whatever the new age thing is.
Yeah.
But we're seeing whatever our parents do, and then we're doing the
Or
same
it's
thing.
convenient.
Yeah, or it's convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah, and convenience a big thing these
Yeah.
days. Everyone does not want to be inconvenienced,
Yeah.
so they're just going to do that thing. But I don't know. I hope when we raise our girls and they grow up, I want them to question things
Yeah.
like, why is the Paisab only doing the Ardas? Why can't I do this? Why is the Kirtan every wedding we go to, the people doing Kirtan, Lama or the guys were the girls. Even though
Mm-hmm.
our wedding we had my Babis do it because I wanted to make a
That's
point
true. Yeah.
that I don't want it. It's not all male. Like anybody could do
Yeah.
the Lama Kirtan. So I want them to ask those things. I want them to ask about the Panch Pyare thing. So hopefully I raise them in those values where they will ask and they'll be annoyed
Mm-hmm.
if it's still going on. So let's see what happens.
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, when we want our kids to grow up questioning things and not being afraid, um, I think it goes back to encouraging that in the house, just little things. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to stand up to me and say, why are we doing this? It's
mm,
inconvenient to us because we just want to
mm,
get through our day, have dinner, times are so, hurry up and finish this and that, do your homework. It's inconvenient sometimes, but it makes me think that it starts at a young age, right? We're not going to teach them at like 10 years old that, oh, yeah, it's good to question. We want to teach them as early as possible that
right,
don't be afraid to stand up to an authority or don't be afraid to ask questions. And so I think that's something we do
right.
now, but that is something people can do in their household, maybe to start building that culture of being nonconformist and not
Right.
being afraid to stand up.
So a big thing that I get a lot of heat for or flack for, or a lot of criticism about is eating in culture.
Mm,
So one of the things is and this is the thing, that's when I know like where people's heads are at with this question because everyone's gets all like tight with it. But in Sikh culture, if you actually read the Maryada, there's only like four major Qurats,
hmm
right? Qurats are like, I don't know, like cardinal sins if I have to like translate it or something, but four major sins. Uh, and there's not that many rules, right? In Sikhi, which is great, but everyone makes rules. Totally another different podcast we could talk about. But eating is a big thing. So that's why Sikhi is so good because they didn't care about food. They didn't care about eating. So in Punjabi culture, there's a lot of I'm vegetarian or I can't eat certain types of foods or I don't eat on, you know,
Well, this day we don't eat
yeah,
meat, or
I
this
know
day we
Sikhs
don't
that
eat
do
this.
that,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, okay, but in Sikh culture, it's about the food has to be ethically sourced.
hmm
Food has to be ethical. So are you doing an honest day's work to buy that food that you're eating? That's what's more important than what you're eating.
hmm
So the eating part always gets me because they're like, oh, Punjabis, because I've seen non-Punjabi, so like anyone in the world, they'd be like, "Oh, I thought you're vegetarian or something." I'm like, "No, man, Sikhs could eat anything you want. We just can't
hmm
eat halal food
hmm
or kosher food now, and anything that's religiously sacrificed meat is not for us."
hmm
And that's what the rule is. But everything else you could eat,
Yeah.
which is everything, by the way. So when it's just so funny to me because I'm like, that's how great Sikh culture is
Yeah.
that we could eat anything we want and it doesn't have to be vegetarian or it could be beef, it could be pork, it could be chicken, it could be whatever you want,
Yeah.
right? It just can't be religiously sacrificed meat of some other religion. That's
hmm
all.
hmm
That is the whole rule. But people blend that. The Punjabi culture blends that into Sikh culture and suddenly everyone wants to be vegetarian. Suddenly everybody thinks that that's pure and spiritual.
Right.
And Sikhi was never like that,
Yeah, I think
ever.
that's the distinction is that you can eat whatever you want. You can be vegetarian or you can not eat something on Tuesdays or whatever day of the week, but that does not mean that that it's you know, Sikh aligned with Sikh thinking. It doesn't mean that everyone has to do that. Like I think Sikhi has been so beautiful that think about what was going on back in the day when people couldn't eat what they wanted because they were whatever religion or it was told to them that you can't do this. And then here comes, our gurus and they say you can eat whatever you want and you can be whoever you want. You can sit with a pauper, you can sit with someone who's a king, everyone's equal in this playing field. So they kind of broke those chains, those barriers. And some of it is still there today because, like you said, it's blended. And some people look at us if we go to a restaurant, they'll say, "Oh, well, there's pork in here, right?" Or there's beef in here, right? And we're like, "Yeah, great." And then it kind
But
of
that's why we're ordering it,
yeah,
because it is in there.
and it's
Yeah.
nice to see that person's
Yeah.
mind is like a little blown because like,
Right.
oh wow, okay, these
Right.
people eat everything,
Right.
So I think it kind of creates a level playing field that no, we're all alike, we're all one. There's really nothing that makes me different from you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the beauty of
And I think a
Sikhi.
lot of people get confused too. So I just want to say this: it's not that we don't. It has nothing to do with people's religion, like the
Yeah.
religiously sacrificed meat that I said. Is it? The concept isn't that it's your religion and we don't like your religion, that's why we don't eat the meat
Mhm.
or your products. It's not that. The whole concept was that we are sovereign. So
Mhm.
that meat in your religion would be like, oh, this meat is religiously sacrificed and this is the meat that we're going to serve to our people. But we're sovereign. We don't believe in that.
Yeah.
We believe like, no, meat's for everybody, no matter, regardless of your race, religion, or whatever. The food is food for everybody.
Mhm.
And so that's the higher concept people don't get. So it's
Mhm.
not, there's no like hatred or racial element there, but the
Right.
concept is about us being sovereign and eating what we want.
Yeah.
So it's great. And people don't even understand, like, the Sikhs don't even know when they're like, oh no, it's more spiritual, or you're not supposed to eat meat or supposed to be in that profession or anything like that. And then they're like, if you actually read Guru Granth Sahib, there's a butcher's bani in Guru Granth Sahib. So jitte tusi matha dekh rahe hain, where you're bowing down to get that Gurmat Gyan, there's a butcher's bani in there. That
Mhm.
should tell you right there, like, it doesn't matter about the food,
Right.
right? It doesn't matter about the food. It matters about who you are as a human being.
Mhm.
That's what matters most, not what you eat. Everybody knows vegetarians that are crazy, and everybody
Right.
knows meat eaters that are crazy.
Yeah.
So that's not the thing. The gurus had
Right.
such a higher level thought. Sikhs
Yeah.
have such a higher level thought that it's mind blowing what I see
Yeah.
now. There's people that have there's people at their parties will have all sorts of meat, but they'll do a pot, and then suddenly they don't want to eat meat, and I'm like, that makes zero sense.
Yeah.
Like, that is
Yeah.
not Sikh culture, guys. Read any book that you want. Read, even read by Veer Singh's books that are in some Gurdwaras that they're giving away free now.
Yeah.
Um, in his novels, he's like, oh, Sikhs are cooking deer. Oh, what's that great smell that's happening? Sikhs are cooking deer. Like, it's in his novels, man. Like, and you guys are worried about like these little things. So Punjabi culture virus has
Yeah.
gotten into that too, which is not good for Sikhs, I think.
It's a slippery slope because once you start getting into that thinking, "Ki assi aini khana and we don't eat this and you're not supposed to eat this and that," I think involuntarily you get into this thinking that, "Oh, if we're supposed to be vegetarian because it's equal to living a more spiritual life or whatever it is, then this person must be better than that person because they're vegetarian." Whether or not it's unsaid, whether or not you say it, I think that's where the thinking kind of goes when you start agreeing or when you start allowing that kind of thinking. So when you go back to let equal playing field, it doesn't matter what you eat as long as you, like you said, you've obtained it. Working hard and honest work. But what do you do after that? Do you go back home and, you bash your wife and you don't have a good relationship with your wife and you may be vegetarian, or you may be, a meat eater. It doesn't matter. But what do you do after that? Like food is not the end all and be all of the religion. And I think it gets to be that way now because in some situations, because sometimes if you're a vegetarian and you're a Sikh, you don't even want to eat from the same plate. ਉਸੇ ਭਾਂਡੇ ਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਖਾਣਾ ਉਸੇ ਹੱਥ ਨਾਲ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਚਿਕਨ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਸ ਹੱਥ ਤੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਰੋਟੀ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੈਣੀ so then that becomes very slippery then when does that stop so I think they were onto something the gurus were onto something when they said that it doesn't matter
Yeah,
you know
because hello, Ikko,
yeah
if you can't go and be with other human beings, sit
yeah
down with them, have a meal with them because you're worried about all these little things,
yeah
Ikko goes away real fast in your life. Then how are you one? How are you going to enjoy other cultures? How are they going to enjoy your culture?
yeah
Right? How are you going to do that? So, and Sikhs are, and this is the thing, like, yes, we're Punjabi, so we're talking about Sikh culture versus Punjabi culture, but Sikhi is universal. So it
hmm
doesn't matter what culture you're coming from, you can be a Sikh,
right
right?
not
That's the
all
whole, so it doesn't
Sikhs are
matter.
Punjabis
Yeah, yeah.
yeah
So it doesn't matter, right?
yeah
So that's the whole point. That was the whole point of, if Gurbani is universal, then anyone in any culture, regardless of their race, religion, what they eat, what they wear,
hmm
we could be Sikh.
hmm
But we lost that because the Punjabi ego and the Punjabiness takes over, and the Gurdwaras are mostly Punjabi, and here we are. Yeah, but another thing that I don't like is, and this is the Punjabi culture that has creeped into Sikhi,
hmm
is drinking. So
hmm
so one was halal meat, right? The other one is like drugs and alcohol. It's total like no, right? But people are like, oh, Sikhs can't drink. I'm like, no. They're like, but I see them drink all the time. And I'm like, oh,
yeah
shit, that breaks me because I'm like,
yeah
yeah, well, it's not. And they're like, oh, but you guys are vegetarian. I'm like, no, we could eat meat.
yeah
We can't drink. But it's totally opposite in like wherever,
yeah
whatever's happening these days. So that's just funny to me where
it gets
people are thinking
confusing
that Sikhs are vegetarian, but they could drink. And
hmm
I'm like, no, we cannot drink and we are not vegetarian. But and so it just like
yeah
boggles the mind because the Punjabi culture has gone, so it's all in the songs, it's in the weddings, it's everywhere. And
yeah
I'm not bashing anyone that drinks or doesn't drink or anything
right
like that, but I'm just saying that's not Sikh culture.
hmm
Yeah, yeah,
yeah and it just again it's I don't think it's a good look but Punjabis are notoriously known for drinking
yeah,
right
yeah,
like if you see a Punjabi party there's no alcohol
yeah,
you're gonna question
yeah,
things like oh acha really they don't have drinks you
yeah,
know
yeah. That's true.
So it's
That's true.
it's sad to me, but that's just the way it is. It's a huge probably whatever you want to call it, problem or misconception, but it's there and I think we ourselves kind of perpetuate that because we allow it. So,
Yeah, yeah, and we do allow it,
yeah.
and it's going a little too far. It's in a lot of Punjabi movies now. It's in the songs.
Mhm.
It's in people's households. It's everywhere. So it's just one of those things that it's probably going to stay for a long time, but it's definitely not Sikh culture. Sikh culture, you got to be a fully alert human being. That's the whole point.
Right.
Because
So
people
what was the
say,
reasoning for
people
that?
say, I don't know the exact reasoning. This is just my thought, but people say like, oh, what's one drink going to do? What's two drinks going to do?
Yeah. You're
What
not a
is
bad person if
what
you
is
drink.
of
That's not
course,
what that means.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like, oh, smoke a little weed or cigarettes, like what's that going to do? That's not the point.
Yeah.
The point is that they want Sikhi culture wants you to be a fully alert human being at all times,
Mhm.
and if it takes you away from that because you're not fully alert anymore because you had two drinks, then that's not good.
Yeah.
And that's the reason. Because so, and I love that reason. I think that's a great
It
reason.
is.
You want to be fully
I
alert the whole
agree.
time. You don't know what could happen at any moment,
Yeah.
and who knows what your state of mind is.
I mean, again, I just think about our kids. If they ever start drinking, hopefully never, but
Yeah,
what's the lesson we want to teach here is God forbid if you have been drinking and you're in a sticky situation, you need to be fully alert.
yeah,
You have to be alert. You have to be aware of your surroundings.
yeah,
If somebody is in need, it's your job to help them, someone in need. Or if something is going on and you have to speak up, it's your role as a Sikh to speak up. Even if nobody else is. So you can't do that if you are um, intoxicated.
No, no. That's the thing
So
that's a thing that I don't know if it's ever
yeah,
going to go away. It's just going to be one of those things that people grow up
yeah.
with or whatever. But
I
yeah,
think at the
yeah,
very
and
least, just knowing that this is it's part of the Punjabi culture is definitely not aligning with Sikh culture.
yeah.
Whether it's Pang, I know there are some Sikh groups that are okay
Like
with,
Nahangs.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
with
I'm not
okay
even
with,
going to get into that on this
is it
podcast.
Pang? They do
Yeah,
weed? Is it
yeah.
weed?
Like hemp.
Okay,
So
hemp.
different
So,
forms of
and that's totally normal for them. So, again, I think that's a little delusional when you get into that thinking that, oh, yeah, this is okay in this situation. That's delusional thinking. At the very least, you have to know that, okay, this is not allowed.
right,
Whatever, whether you choose to do it or not is your choice. Doesn't mean you're a bad person, but you have to know the distinction between, what's aligning with your Sikh culture here and what's not. Um, so, yeah.
right, 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 right.
What else? So, I guess another topic we have here was being politically active,
Right,
which
right.
definitely in Punjabi culture, I think more often than not, people kind of shy away or don't want to be involved politically.
Yeah,
But again, as a Sikh, you should be.
yeah.
It's your job.
I have arguments with this
Yeah,
with your brother. Basically, like
yeah,
it's supposed to be Sikhs are supposed to be political.
yeah.
The Gurus were all political. So, and they talked to the political leaders at that time, and they didn't agree with them, and Guru Nanak got jailed for things. So it's like
Mm,
Sikhs are supposed to be political, but so when Sikhs say like, "Oh, we shy away from politics, we just know politics, di gal na karo, assi di gal kare," then you can't have it. Then that's not Sikhi
yeah,
culture. That's Punjabi culture, and your insecurities that come along with it. But that is not Sikh culture. Sikh culture is all political. How do you think we gained as much as we gained by not being political? Like, come on, like all
historically, yeah.
yeah, historically, why did gurus get assassinated?
Mm,
Right? Because they weren't conforming. They weren't doing what the leaders at that time, the political heads at that time wanted. Why do you think we had all these battles with political heads? So Sikhi is political. Why did Because we wanted equal Raj for everyone, an
hmm.
egalitarian society, and those things, politics is a big role. And
Yeah.
then Guru Har Gobind Sahib with the Miri Piri, right? Started from Guru Nanak, Guru Har Gobind Sahib
Mm,
institutionalized it. And so Miri Piri is what, right? Take the spiritual knowledge you have and wield that into political power,
yeah.
right? Deg Deg Fateh, political statement too. So it boggles my mind when Sikhs don't want to talk politics or get into politics or are on the wrong side of politics.
Hmm.
So there's so much going on. We're in America. We're in Trump nation, I guess, right now.
Yeah.
But there's so much going on, and some people don't even want to talk about it. So
Yeah.
my view on politics is I'm just voting for, and I don't have a side.
Hmm.
I'm done with sides.
I
My view on
agree.
politics is whether it's Gurdwara politics or your local politics or national politics, who is going to do good for the people?
Yeah.
It's not the lesser of two evils, which is the most case, but who is going to do good for uh, making sure that equality and equity are for everybody,
Hmm.
whether it's in Gurdwara, whether it's the nation.
Yeah.
So that's how I view things. Like, who is up for that? Who's up for that task? Treats everybody on an equal playing field. So that's where my allegiance or my vote would go,
Yeah.
right? Same thing in Gurdwara. In Gurdwara, we already talked about it. The board is the board. The Gurdwaras are all male dominated. Like, what are you going to do, right? But
I
that,
think also because, especially from my experiences growing up, we've seen Gurdwara politics get very messy. Like, how many times have we seen viral videos of guys, Sardarjis, Kulle Dadiyan, and they're just like fighting in the Gurdwara? I remember this back in the day happening. I'm sure it still happens now. So I think that kind of really deters people, because it's just so messy and ugly, and politics is never glamorous, never pretty, but it's messy. But again, at the end of the day, I feel like it takes some inner strength to speak your mind. You have to be clear on what your values are here, and you have to be able to sit down at the table with other people, whether or not they agree with you. They might not agree with you, but can you still sit down with them and have an educated conversation and have, um, you know, just an equal playing field, and listen to them? Can you listen? So I'm sure that's what the gurus did too. They didn't just bring down the hammer and say, this is what we think. No, I'm sure they talked to people from all walks of life.
Yeah. Well,
They listened to people, and then they came to educated decisions, and you know brought in people who were like-minded, and like that's why sangat matters, right? Because you want like-minded people, you want people who are active and brave and fearless and are not afraid to speak up. So yeah, politics can be messy, but
yeah, but Gurdwara politics, the difference is the Punjabi, the Punjabis in Gurdwara, which is basically the Punjabi culture in Gurdwara, they want the seat, as we say, or they want the power. So then they have the power because it fuels their ego. In Sikh culture, you want the seat because you want to help as many people as possible and create an egalitarian society wherever you are and help humanity.
yeah,
There's a difference. Punjabis want it for their own ego now. That, oh, let's see, Gurdwara president or whatever local president, and because then you're going to get all these things, and then people are going to like salute you and stuff. But Sikh culture is not like that. Sikh culture is like you want the power because of like this could help so many more people, and we need this power to bring
change.
to bring change and to uh, get the right message out of Sikhi. Right now, it's not like that. Now it's just an ego struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, that was a good conversation.
Yes.
Punjabi culture versus Sikh culture. Hope people
we
learned
just skimmed
something.
the top. We didn't even.
Yeah, we did skim
get
the top.
into the depths of
We
things.
did. No, we didn't. But
yeah.
let's see. Let's see if people
Hopefully
like it or
good
not.
thought
People
for
have
conversation for people.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.